What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Skylar and Pedro here. Check it out. Skylar's not here right now, but I'm doing a deck tech for my favorite deck I have right now. Probably one of my, strongest as far as I think it is. You guys can let me know in the comments if you think it's strong. But built from scratch. I got this back when the Commander Anthology or whatever they're called came out. Got it a couple months after single, and not too bad. Upgraded it slowly by then. Don't have all the tokens yet. Gotta give me some more coil engine tokens, but this right here is the ready to scrap Servant, as you guys seen in the description. Here you guys go. Got some tokens here though. Came with the golems, Doctor. Here's our commander here. Derati, scrap Servant. For a +2, discard up to 2 cards, then draw that many cards. That's very powerful. I love to filter through my deck. Sacrifice an artifact. If you do, return target artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield for -2. Amazing. Cheat out a lot of high cost artifacts cheap. You also get an emblem with whenever this artifact is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, return that card to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. So the way I play this deck is, there's 2 ways to go. Either we can play around with the first 2 effects. If we have opponents that have a board state, just kind of bounce up and down and cheat out your stuff. But if you're early game and you get them out turn 2, which we are able to, you can go to race to the finish line right here to the -10. I have got it a couple times playing this deck, and we have things in here to help him get up there as well, to help his loyalty get up as well quicker. But that's our commander right there. It is a planeswalker. It is not a creature, because he can be your commander. And we're going to start off with the artifacts, of course. Grab a little stack of this. You know this is an artifact deck, so of course the artifacts are in here. And as far as the ramp package, we have a couple different ramps in here. This is not in order by ramp or anything like that. It's in order by mana cost. So you're going to see my mana curve as we go through this. So Soul Ring, Manifold Key. 1 colorless, untap another target artifact. 3 colorless, target creature can be blocked this turn. Another way, get out Derati even cheaper. Ruby red spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Everything in this deck is either red or colorless, so that helps us. Arcane Signet, 2 colorless, add 1 mana of any color identity. Get them out by turn 3 with that. Mind Stone, another ramp right there. 1 Power Stone, 3 colorless, enters the battlefield. Add 2 colorless to your mana pool. Crawl space, no more than 2 creatures can attack you each combat. I got this in here because he is a planeswalker, and when I want to defend, I don't want more than 2 creatures coming in. Basalt Monolith, I know there's a combo with this Basalt Monolith. Honestly, I don't try an infinite combo. I just win by winning. Either I get too far ahead and I just overpower them with power of my artifact creatures, or I can just do shenanigans. This deck basically is just fun to play. I don't know how else to put it. You gotta try it to see it happen. Lava Bring Floodgates, add 2 red at the beginning of each player's upkeep. That player may put a doom counter on it or remove a doom counter on it. Then if it has 3 or more doom counters on it, sacrifice it. When you do, it deals 6 damage to each creature. So this is a little fun thing in there. Maybe it's going to blow up, maybe it's not, but in our deck we are able to sacrifice it when we want to, so that way it does not blow up our stuff if we don't want it to. But just a little nerve-wracking for the opponent, and allows us to add 2 red. Thought that would be a kind of little spicy spice thrown into there. Mystic Forge, you may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast artifact spells and colorless spells from the top card of your library. Pay 1 life, exile the top card of your library. 4 colorless. That is an amazing card. Allows us to tap, exile stuff that we don't need if we don't have an artifact on top of our deck, because we always want to play type of artifacts. And for example, on Winding Clock, just to untap all artifacts we control. during each player's upkeep. Hedron Archive, add 2 colorless to your mana pool, another way to ramp. And we do draw so many cards in this deck that we literally see mostly our whole deck every single game. Unless for some reason somebody just KOs you super quick, which is highly unlikely because we move pretty fast. Trading Post allows you to discard a card, gain 4 life, pay 1 life, create a 0/1 GOAT token, or sacrifice a creature, return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand, sacrifice an artifact, draw a card. Multiple things to do. Perilous Vault just comes in basically, tap another 5, exile all non-land permanents. We got to be able to defend ourselves. Slagstone Refinery, whenever another non-token artifact you control is put into the graveyard or put into exile from the battlefield, create a tap power stone. So this is a newly added thing from Brothers War. I'm just testing it out, see if the reason of my stuff dying when I sacrifice it, getting a power stone is going to help me, because each time I sacrifice something to Derati, I do get a power stone. And or if it's put into exile, if somebody destroys one of our stuff. So that's pretty cool. Jester's Cap, this is my own spice in here. This basically allows me to 4 colorless, 2 colorless, sacrifice Jester's Cap, search target's opponent library for 3 cards, and exile them. So go inside everybody's library. With our commander, we're able to continuously bring back artifacts from the graveyard as long as we mess around with his first 2 abilities of discarding 2 and minusing 2. So as long as you have a sacrifice outlet, for example, Thran Dynamo is in the graveyard, you have Gilded Lotus on the field, you use his ability, sacrifice this, bring that to the graveyard, and that hits the battlefield. That's basically how his stuff works right there. And Gilded Lotus and Thran Dynamo both are more ramp, because we just try and ramp as fast as we can, get as much mana as we can, because we do play some nice creatures that are able to copy things. Play nice creatures that are able to copy things, and we got more artifacts. A couple I missed back here. You guys can see that right there. Voltaic Key and Everflowing Chalice. Guess I got mixed up in a bunch. Apologize for that. But that is all our artifacts. Now, all that rent, this is the reason why we have it. We have win cons in here. We have ways to win. Mind Slaver. I know that's hiding somewhere. Now we got Quicksmith Genius. Whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Junk Diver. Return another target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. Allows us to return stuff. Here we go with Mishra Excavation Prodigy. Haste, 1 colorless, discard a card, draw a card. Whenever you discard 1 or more artifacts, add 2 red. This ability triggers only once each turn. So, he also has haste. This allows us to discard artifacts we need, which is exactly what our deck does, and then we add 2 red as we do it. So he has a ramp package and a discard outlet and a draw outlet in his spell. In his deck, that's very powerful. Audacious Reshapers. Now this card right here allows you to sacrifice an artifact, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal an artifact card. Put that card on the battlefield and rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Audacious Reshaper deals damage to you equal to the number of cards revealed this way. So, allows us to find artifacts. And when we find those artifacts and we have them, we are able to copy them with this guy if they're in our graveyard once we sacrifice them. Feldum of Third Path, colorless, 2 red, 2 colorless, and a red. Create a token as a copy of target creature in your graveyard except as an artifact in addition to its other types. It gains haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. This dude is real nice. Allows us to copy our stuff in the graveyard, make it come out with haste, get a little enter in the battlefield effect, or come out and do something else. Scrap Welder, sacrifice an artifact with mana value X, return artifact card with mana value less than X from your graveyard to your battlefield. It gains haste until end of turn. So this allows us to sacrifice artifacts and bring back other artifacts. which is what we always want to do. Shimmer Mirror, you may cast artifacts cards as though they had flash. Give everything flash basically in our deck. Solemn Simulacrum, search your library for a basic land. When he dies, you draw a card. Good old Solemn. Fits perfect in this deck. Joyous Familiar, flying, historic. Spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So it makes our artifacts cost less. We have a thing that makes our red spells cost less. So we only play about 32 lands in this deck because all the mana ramp and everything else. Kodotha, Forge Master, sacrifice 3 artifacts, search your library for an artifact card and put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. As long as people don't play Artifact Destroy, we're pretty much in there like swimwear. But Combustal, Gearhawk, Artifact Creature, Construct, this is very fun, especially to copy it with that other guy for 3 colorless. That dude right here, you tap him, make a copy of this, enters the battlefield, target opponent, you may have you draw 3 cards, and it deals damage to that player equal to the total converted mana cost. That's kind of crazy. Either they have you draw the 3 cards or they go into the graveyard. Kind of crazy. Hellkite Tyrant, in case we're playing other people with artifacts, we get to steal it. If we own 20 or more artifacts, we win the game. Just another win con. Kind of fun. Little dragon in there. Love dragons, but he's nice in there. A lot of people play artifact these days. Worm Coil Engine. When it dies, create a 3/3 colorless worm artifact creature with Death Touch and a 3/3 colorless worm artifact creature token with lifelink. Real nice card. Meteor Golem, destroy stuff when it enters. Bosch Iron Golem, sacrifice it, deals damage equal to sacrifice artifacts with red mana cost to any target. Definitely win some games in this deck. Now this card, kind of thought it did something different, but I am going to end up taking it out. I'm trying to get a Blight Steel in here to replace it with this. I was just testing this out, but when it enters the battlefield or leaves the battlefield, choose a land of each basic land type, then destroy those lands. So I like it in here because I can flicker it back and forth, but noticing people play a lot of dual lands and tri-lands and stuff like that, so the basic land part don't really affect it much. Triplicate Titan, 9 colorless, flying, vigilance, trample, kind of like an upgraded Worm Coil Engine. When it dies, it creates a 3/3 colorless artifact creature token with flying, vigilance, and trample. So 3/3s when it dies. I have a combo with this where I just keep sacrificing it to my commander and bringing it back with something else, and sacrifice it with my commander and sacrificing it with other creatures that sacrifice it and bringing it back, and then you just continuously get 3/3s as it dies and comes back. This eventually just comes out for free because it costs X less to cast, where X is the total converted mana cost of non-creature artifacts you control, which we do have plenty in there, which is usually more than 11. Had that come out for free a couple times when I draw it, and it's kind of just perfect. Really just perfect. And we're going to get into the rest of these artifacts right here. Mirror Works. Ugin's Nexus. If a player would begin an extra turn, that player skips that turn instead. If Ugin Nexus would be put into a graveyard from the battlefield instead, exile it and take an extra turn after this one. Stops people from taking extra turns, and once you sacrifice it, allows you to take extra turns. Gemstone, Hadrian, add 3 colorless. Mindslaver, have a combo with this. If you get the ultimate ability of the commander, it will allow you to take everybody's turn each upkeep, as long as you have that out and Unwinding Clock. Kind of just ends the game right there because you're just taking everybody's thing. This allows you to continuously destroy something, bring it into the graveyard, destroy it, bring it to the graveyard, destroy it, and there's ways to return this to your hand, because when it dies and put into the graveyard, it goes to your hand, and when you sacrifice it, basically hits the graveyard, goes to your hand, but you're able to cast it again. I also have another artifact that copies it, which is kind of crazy. And Goblin Welder, told you about the sacrifice and stuff. This kind of is iffy because it chooses target artifact. A player controls and target artifact cards in that graveyard. If both targets are still legal as this ability arrives, that player continuously sacrifices it. So basically, it's at the same time. But if somebody has a response and they exile your graveyard, then it does not resolve. Mirror Retriever. When it dies, return another target artifact. Scrap Trawler. When Scrap Trawler or another artifact you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, return another artifact card in your graveyard to your hand with lesser converted mana cost. So that's real nice. Goblin Engineer. When it enters the battlefield, you may search a library for an artifact card, put it into your graveyard, then shuffle your library. It does exactly what we want. Sacrifice an artifact, return target artifact card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Very powerful. Iron Mirror. Add a red. Artifact spells cost 1 less for Foundry Inspector. And Paladin Mirror. So, those are our creatures, those are our artifacts, those benefit from artifacts, those help artifacts. Everything's artifacts in here. And once we get into our spells, we don't run too many because everything's basically artifacts. Thrill of Possibility. As an additional cost to cast this spell, discard a card, draw 2 cards. Chaos Warp. You already know what that does. Shuffle into the library. Faithless Looting. Draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards. Gamble. Search your library for a card, put that card into your hand, discard a card at random, then shuffle. Red Sun's Twilight. New addition from Phyrexial would be 1. But destroy up to X target artifacts. If X is 5 or more, for each artifact destroyed this way, create a token that's a copy of it. Those tokens gain haste. Exile them at the beginning of the next end step. So with this and that dragon, if we are able to destroy everybody's stuff and make a copy of it, if we own 20, I believe we win. Saheeli's Directive. 3 colorless or red and X. Improvise. Each artifact you tap after you've done activating mana and abilities, pay for 1 colorless. So reveal the top X cards of your library. You may put any number of artifact cards with converted mana cost X or less from among them onto the battlefield. Then put all cards revealed this way that weren't put onto the battlefield into your graveyard. So allows us to look a lot of cards on the top of our library. Scrap Mastery. People are going to destroy our stuff, and in case we want to get it all of it back, each player exiles all artifact cards from their graveyard, then sacrifices all artifacts they control, then puts all cards they exiled this way onto the battlefield. So basically, what you do is you exile your graveyard, destroy everything that was on the field. Well, you sacrifice everything that's on the field as far as artifacts. And then, once those hit the graveyard, everything you exiled at first now hit the battlefield. So, kind of recursion for artifacts. All this does, each player sacrifices all colored permanents they control, because we're playing a lot of artifacts. Blasphemous Act. You already know, destroy some stuff. The more creatures there is, the cheaper it costs. Sometimes you pay for 1 red. Chandra. This is strictly in here for the 0 loyalty counter on each red planeswalker you control. So her and him both get a counter once they're on the field. Karn allows us to reveal the top 2 cards of your library. An opponent chooses one of them, put that card into your hand and exile the other with a silver counter on it. Or you can -1, put a card you own with a silver counter on it from exile into your hand. And also makes a 0 colorless construct for -2. +1/+1 for each artifact you control. That's also very important in here. Allows us to put out a big creature. Or we could just start searching through our deck and playing stuff. Now this one's kind of passive effect. The activated abilities of artifacts your opponent's control can be activated. So we shut down all artifacts that tap, do anything to pay or whatever, can't be activated until your next turn. Up to 1 target creature, non-creature artifact becomes an artifact with power and toughness equal to its converted mana cost, or -2. You can choose an artifact you own from X outside the game, or exile, reveal that card and put it to your hand. So for example, we had a card called that stopped the extra turns, and then once you took the extra turns, you exiled it. Once we get this commander back, we are able to -2 it and get it back again, and do that 2 times. So we're able to take about 3 extra turns if we have him out and that other card, which is possible. Ugin Ineffable. Colorless spells you cast cost 2 less to cast. X out the top 2 cards of your library face down and look at it. Create a 2/2 colorless spirit token. When that token leaves the battlefield, put the exile card into your hand. Destroy target permanent. That's 1 or more colors for -3. So, perfect for this deck. Calling Liberated. Another 7 colorless. Target player exiles a card from his or her hand. Whereas -3, exile a target permanent. And is -14, it restarts the game, but we are never going to do that in Commander, so we're just going to focus on his first 2. Ugin the Spirit Dragon. Love Ugin, but it deals 3 damage to target creature or player for a +2 or -X. Each exile each permanent with commander cost X or less. That's 1 or more colors. So this is a board wipe to anything else because we're only red. So perfect for us. Rogue's Passage. Urza Saga. Got that in here as well. If you guys don't know what Urza Saga does, it adds a color list, and then the next page create a 0 colorless construct with this +1/+1 for each artifact, and then you search a library for an artifact with 0 or 1, put it onto the battlefield, then you sacrifice Urza Saga. So these are our utility lands that we have right here that make target creature unblockable. Until your next turn, creatures your opponent control lose hexproof or shroud and can't have hexproof or shroud. That's being staged to copy anybody's land or even one of our own to do anything. This is a newly added land, the Meko Synth Gardens. Add a colorless. For 1 colorless, add 1 mana of any color, and then for X, it becomes a copy of target non-artifact you control with mana value X. So comes a copy of any of our artifacts that's not a creature or something like that. And Reliquary Tower, you have no maximum hand side because we do draw a lot. Ghost Quarter, destroy other people's lands we don't want them having. Buried Ruin, sacrifice it for 2 colorless, return an artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. Phyrexia Core, for 1 colorless, sacrifice an artifact, you gain a life in case we need to gain life. This here is our Dark Steel Citadel. Is indestructible and cardless, but the thing about this is it's an artifact land, and then we lead to our artifact red land. Allows us to sacrifice to our commander, so we're able to sacrifice just a little land and bring back a 11/11 or a 9/9 or a Worm Coil Engine just for sacrificing the land, which is kind of crazy. The Autonomous Furnace enters the battlefield tapped, add a red for a colorless and a red. Furnace, draw a card. No, it enters the battlefield tap, but I like the ability of drawing a card later on in case we don't need it. Enters the battlefield tap, enters the battlefield sacrifice unless you return an untapped mountain you control to his owner's hand, but this one adds a colorless and a red. If you guys see that right there, colorless and a red. So this one taps for 2. Enters the battlefield, you may reveal an elemental card from your hand. If you don't, enters the battlefield tap. It is most likely always going to enter the battlefield tap, but for the red, target creature gains haste until end of turn. Then the rest of the things we got here, just mountains. Nothing too special. And like I said, we only run 32 lands with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 being basic. 20 being basic mountains. 21, 22, 23, 24 being special lands. So 4 special lands are red, and then the rest are colorless. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. So we played 34 lands. Thinking about cutting it down because we don't need that much lands in here, and as much as we draw, it's kind of crazy. This deck is very powerful. I don't know. Try it, see if you like it, test it out. That's the Ready to Scrap Servant. Till next time, guys. Peace out. Derati.